The end of Israel Adesanya. I think Israel Adesanya is going to get put the fuck away by Joe Pyfer early, early, for a bunch of reasons, and I'll break them down today in this video. So, reason number one: people with aggressive boxing styles have always given Israel Adesanya problems. If there's a couple things that like Israel Adesanya really struggles with, it's somebody who pressures him and wants to box with him, who takes away that kicking zone and puts it into a boxing fight. His defense does degrade significantly. And I get Piper doesn't punch in combination. He throws one big shot. Israel Adesanya's boxing defense, a lot of the time, is lean back, fade away left hook. Like he's really just trying to lean back, land a left hook. That's how he got dropped against Strickland. That's how he gets caught in a lot of his fights. It's because he gives up so much space that he's going to lean back and get hit by it. Joe Pyfer has some disgusting knockout power. And I'm just going to say, Israel Adesanya doesn't have the same defensive footwork as Jack Hermanson. And I know that sounds sacrilegious. Because Israel Adesanya is 10 times better than Jack Hermanson. And people hold the Jack Hermanson loss against Joe Pyfer. Joe Pyfer beat the brakes off of Jack Hermanson for the first 2 rounds. I have never seen Israel Adesanya shell up the way that Jack Hermanson was to survive what he was being hit with. And now we have a Joe Pyfer who's much, much more willing to engage in the grappling. Fake shot, right hand over the top. I'm telling you, like, this is Jack Hermanson lands a big strike all the time, and Israel Adesanya has never had a. Let me rephrase that. I won't say he's never had a crazy shin. It's just always been normal, like kind of normal, and he's been able to use his size and his length and his reach to stay safe against a lot of his opponents. Because a lot of his opponents are like 5'10", like 6'1". Joe Pyfer's like a big dude, 6'2", stands up tall. Israel Adesanya is going to be looking great for the first couple minutes of this fight. Jack Hermanson is going to back him up, and the power that this man can generate up close. I just watched Marc-Andre Barrios go to war with Mikel Osation. Osation was cracking him directly in the chin with everything, didn't put him out. Watch Marc-Andre Barrios go to war with Sharabullet Magomedov. Ate like 13 knees to the chin, ignored. Was able to recover from everything. Watched Marc-Andre Barrios go to war with Chris Curtis. Unaffected by Chris Curtis's insane punching power. The kind of punching power that puts ranked middleweights out cold. Marc-Andre Barrios took one shot from Joe Pyfer up close, face planted into the canvas, not moving. Not moving. Joe Pyfer is a terrifying fight. Who hurts Kelvin Gastelum in a boxing exchange? He dropped him like 3 or 4 times in that fight. And I get the power kind of waned in round 2 and 3, but he's still dangerous throughout the entirety of the fight. And he doesn't have the speed or the footwork of a Nasruddin Imavov. Everything he lacks in the technique, he makes up for in pure aggression and the willingness to mix things up. He's definitely grown in his last few fights, but like this dude, he's not knocking out the best names, but Amosovsky was a pretty decent middleweight prospect, dead shotted in round one off a crazy counter shot. It looked like bro got rocked. He turned the tables around. I don't give you too many points for knocking out Joe. Damn, I'm sorry for knocking out Jared Mearshart or Abdul Razak Alassane. Like those guys get knocked out a lot. I do give you credit for flatlining Marc Andre in the first round. I do give you credit for dropping Kelvin Gastelum, legitimately dropping him. Eyes rolled back into the back of his head. He hits the ground, looks up, and has to fight back from that position, rocking him on the feet with straight boxing combinations. I'll give you all the credit in the world for that. And handling Abbas Magomedov on the ground. Magomedov has some very, very, very underrated grappling and jiu-jitsu for the middleweight division. And to just be able to say, you know what? I could knock you out, flatline you on the feet, but I'm taking you down and I'm putting you away that way is very impressive. And I have to look at the way Joe Pyfer hits people, look at the way they react to being hit, and then I look at Israel Adesanya. We're a long, long, long way from prime Israel Adesanya, and I'm gonna be for real with you. Was prime Izzy even that good? I'm taking it there because I don't think prime. I think prime Israel Adesanya might be one of, if not the most overrated fighters in UFC history. Because when people talk about prime Adesanya, they're not talking about his run to the title. They're talking about his multiple title fight wins after winning the title. Romero was finding the button, was finding shots on Israel Adesanya. In my opinion, that fight was a robbery. It's such a bad fight that it's clear to judge. But it's such a bad fight. I don't care that Romero lost. But very close decision. Costa, I'll give him the Costa fight. Pyfer doesn't swing hooks like that. Like, Paulo Costa doesn't fight behind a jab. He kind of lunges in and throws hooks in combination. That's not Joe Pyfer. Jan Blachowicz completely outstruck Israel Adesanya for the first 2.5 rounds. Marvin Vettori has T-Rex arms in comparison to Joe Pyfer. And Joe Pyfer is taller and has better striking and much, much, much more dangerous grappling. If Marvin Vettori takes you down, you don't ever have to really worry about getting submitted. Like in that fight where Marvin Vettori took down Israel Adesanya and was around his back in less than 30 seconds. Choke under the chin. If Marvin Vettori went for a body lock instead of 2 hooks, he would have been middleweight champion. Adesanya Whitaker too. Very, very close fight. Controversial decision. Watching live, I thought Whitaker won. I understand giving it to Adesanya. Rounds 1 and 3 go to Adesanya. 2, 4, and 5 to Whitaker. 4 and 5 clearly to Whitaker. But round 2, very, very close round. Whitaker still got him down. Adesanya has great takedown defense, elite takedown defense. It's not it's not like the most insane brick wall defense you've ever seen. Like I said, he got taken down by Blachowicz. He got taken down by Vettori. He got taken down by Whitaker. That's 3 fights in a row he's been taken down. And if it's another hole in Israel Adesanya's game that's not talked about anywhere near enough, it's his reactive takedown defense. If he can time the shot, like if he knows you're going to shoot, no problem. But if he throws a leg kick and you blast double leg him right afterwards, which Joe Pyfer is big enough and strong enough to do, mind you, I watched him win a jiu-jitsu match against Craig Jones. Joe Pyfer has some elite grappling. Don't ever get that twisted. He can go up to light heavyweight and be a problem at light heavyweight if he wants to, because his grappling's so goddamn good. But in the Blachowicz fight, he throws leg kicks. And when he throws the leg kick, he brings it back, And for a split second, his hips are completely square. If you are big enough and athletic enough, you blast double leg through it. And that's how Blachowicz was able to get him to the ground, and he did not get back up. Pyfer could do the same thing, except when Pyfer's raining down ground and pound, there's a much, 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 much more dangerous submission threat. All I'm saying. Marvin Vettori, round 2, shoots the double leg, runs the pipe, gets to Adesanya's back immediately. If that's Joe Pyfer, the fight's over. Fight's over. Whitaker took his back standing, took him down in round 2. If that's Joe Pyfer and not 5'10 Whitaker, if it's 6'2, like 77-inch reach Joe Pyfer, Adesanya is not just going to be able to scramble to the fence and wall walk his way back up. He's getting locked down. He's getting locked down. And one thing about Israel Adesanya that no one ever talks about when it comes to Israel Adesanya's grappling is every single time. Yes, I've watched the film. Go back and watch it yourself if you want to dispute me. Every single time this dude gets up from being taken down, he gives his back. You cannot give your back to Joe Pyfer. He is too dangerous. We see his knockout reels. We see his knockouts. Yes. But his grappling is very, very, very underrated. And he will take your back. He will lock you down. He will submit you. He's one of the main training partners of Sean Brady, who is like the grappler outside of Islam Makhachev, of course, the grappler at 170 pounds. Yo, this is a very dangerous matchup for Israel Adesanya. People are not giving him credit for it. The Cannonier fight, whatever. Cannonier landed a couple counter shots in the 4th round that were kind of interesting, and won round 3, but that was all Adesanya because Cannonier didn't do anything. Mainly because Cannonier refused to let his hands go. Joe Pyfer ain't gonna not let his hands go. He actually lets his hands go a little too much, which is why he lost to Jack Hermanson, because he let his hands go so much. The first fight was Pereira. I watched him just straight up get outstruck. Was getting outstruck for the entirety of round 1. Beautiful counter shot at the end of the round. That's him. Got outstruck the entirety of round 2. Had to resort to grappling for rounds 3 and 4. Started getting touched at the end of round 4. And then gets outstruck and put out in round 5. Rematch with Pereira. He's getting outstruck every second of that fight until he knocks out Pereira. Strickland completely and totally outstrikes him because he took away, like what I said, you have to crowd him and take away his kicks and force him into a boxing fight, and all of a sudden that beautiful defense, that multi-layered defense he has, kind of ass. Oh, what's he have? A lean back, check left hook, right hand over the top. Strickland drops him. Strickland drops him. Are you hearing? Or did a knockdown against Israel Adesanya? Sean Strickland, 3rd most strikes landed in UFC history. Sean Strickland. 2nd most strikes landed by a male fighter in UFC history. Sean Strickland. Most strikes landed by a UFC middleweight. Sean Strickland. And he has like, what, 1 or 2 TKOs at this weight class? And he's dropping you in round 1? Ugh. I think the chin is starting to degrade. We saw Dricus du Plessis. People called me crazy for picking Dricus du Plessis to beat Israel Adesanya, because Dricus du Plessis looks terrible. But he gritted through it. He mixed in his grappling and was able to find the holes in Adesanya's defense. Adesanya as a counter striker is incredibly overrated. If a striking exchange does not start on his terms, he will not counter you. He will back away and lean away, feeding you his hips. And normally he's able to use his elite takedown defense to get to the fence and wall walk back up. But he was doing that in an era where people didn't necessarily grab your wrist, go 2-on-1 wrist control, and drag you back down away from the fence. He was doing that in an era where people didn't allow you to stand back up so they can shoot another takedown. He was doing that against people who don't have the same level of dangerous jiu-jitsu that Joe Pyfer does. This is a new era, and I think the same old Adesanya isn't going to cut it. I think we're going to need to see evolutions in his game. Evolutions he's not going to make. He's already admitted he's got 1 foot out the door. And this is going to send him out in a body bag. And then you look at the Imavov fight. He was on fire until Imavov knocked him out. And why did Imavov knock him out? Because 2 things. Now, Adesanya's been caught aura farming recently. And that's why he's lost his last 2 fights. Like, in the finishing sequences on both of his last losses, he was aura farming and got fucked over for it. He tried to aura farm against Dricus. He pointed to the ground. Dricus ran at him and then ended up taking his back and choking him out. Mind you, Dricus got to the same position in the second round relatively easily. Couldn't get to it in round 3 because, again, Adesanya has great takedown defense. But reactive takedown defense? And there was like, what, 1 hook in on that before Adesanya attacked? People called me crazy for picking Dricus by round 4 sub. I didn't think Imavov was going to beat him, but I thought Imavov was a very, very, very good test. And you know what? Adesanya was on fire in that fight. I'll give you guys credit for that. Israel Adesanya looked phenomenal against Nasty Imavov. Then why did Israel Adesanya get knocked out? Was him getting poked in the eye part of it? Absolutely. I can't deny it. Having your eye poked and then try to blank it off and go like, no, I'm good to keep fighting. Terrible move. Your depth perception's off. 2 is something Adesanya does in a lot of his fights, and it kind of works when you're dealing with guys who are much, much shorter than you. But when they start getting closer to your size, closer to your reach, that shit does not work anymore. And that stance switching in front of your opponent with no feints. With no feints. You can watch when Adesanya gets caught and put down and put away. He is stance switching with no feints. There's nothing in front of it. He's just raw switching stance. And then Imavov runs forward. Bam! Right on the chin. Down goes Adesanya. And that's because Adesanya misjudged the range because he had just got eye poked. And instead of taking his 5-minute timeout, he tried to pull a Alex Pereira and go, no, I don't need that. And he zigged when he should have zagged and got caught. Joe Pyfer's not going to poke you in the eyes. Joe Pyfer's just going to knock you the fuck out. And this is basically every reason I'm giving for why I'm picking Joe Pyfer to turn the body cam off and send Israel Adesanya packing in a body bag out of the sport into retirement. I don't know what Adesanya is still doing at middleweight. He has had his legacy. After the second Dricus loss, he should have just jumped up to light heavyweight and fucked up Anthony Smith. Some of these guys just need better managers. But until next time, this is Daywalker MMA, and I'll catch you guys my next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe.